Welcome to the Calm and Clarity podcast. I'm India, and here we share insights and strategies to help you live with calm and lead with clarity. If you find this helpful, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Let's dive in.
Have you ever found yourself apologizing like way too often, or feeling that little twinge of guilt just for saying no, even when you're totally overloaded? You know, many of us, especially women, we've felt that silent pressure to be good, to be agreeable, helpful, never ever a burden.
Yeah, it's almost invisible sometimes.
But what happens when being good stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling more like, I don't know, an invisible cage?
That's exactly what we're diving into today.
We're looking at the insights from breaking free from the good girl syndrome, a guide to authentic self-expression, really digging into this.
It's such a common experience.
Yeah.
Much more than people might think. So, yeah, our mission today is to help you understand what this good girl syndrome actually is.
All right.
How it kind of quietly shapes your life. And most importantly, how you can start reclaiming your authentic self. And do that without losing your genuine kindness, because that's important too.
Okay, so let's define it first. What is good girl syndrome? It's not like a clinical thing, right?
No, not at all. It's more of a deeply ingrained pattern. Think people-pleasing, perfectionism, self-silencing.
Okay.
But crucially, it's driven more by fear than by genuine choice. Fear of messing up, fear of disapproval, rejection, that kind of thing.
So like that invisible cage you mentioned, built from expectations, both from others and, well, from ourselves too.
Exactly. And here's where it gets tricky. This pattern often gets rewarded, externally at least.
How so?
Well, you hear things like, oh, she's so easy to work with, or she's so understanding, always reliable.
Right, sounds positive on the surface.
Totally. The source gives this example of Sarah, right? Successful executive, 32, awards on the wall. But inside, her hands are shaking from anxiety. The paradox is that very recognition she got for being good actually reinforces the cage.
Wow.
It stops her or makes it harder to see the internal suffering. The key difference the book makes is between authentic generosity, which comes from choice, from having enough to give, and this compulsive people-pleasing, which is really rooted in fear.
So the very praise we might be seeking is actually locking the door of the cage. That's a powerful idea.
It really is.
And this invisible suffering, as the book puts it, it must take a real toll, right? On everything.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just in your head. This constant effort shows up physically. Think chronic fatigue, maybe headaches that won't quit, digestive problems, sleep issues. Emotionally, it's often this low-level hum of anxiety. Or like you said, that guilt whenever you try to prioritize your own needs. Sometimes just a sense of emptiness inside.
And how does it affect relationships?
Well, you might find yourself attracting people who tend to take more than they give. You might struggle with boundaries, find it hard to say no, or just automatically fall into that caretaker role for everyone.
Okay, this really makes me think. Why is it so important for us, for you listening, to understand if this resonates? Why does your personal experience here matter?
Because behind every so-called good girl is a whole person, an authentic human being with needs that are valid, perspectives that are important, and contributions the world actually needs to hear.
Right.
When we silence ourselves to keep the peace or get approval, we all miss out. We lose those unique voices, those insights. Your experience matters because you matter beyond what you do for others.
That really lands. Okay, so this invisible cage, it sounds exhausting, suffocating even. Let's talk more about the anxiety connection. How does this effort impact our mental and physical well-being?
Yeah, the link between good girl syndrome and anxiety is incredibly strong. It's really intimate.
Okay.
At the core, there's usually this deep fear. Often it's unconscious, you don't even realize it's there. Fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of abandonment if you're not perfect enough or agreeable enough. The source talks about Emily, a teacher, 29. She replays a staff meeting in her head for hours, just worrying sick about whether she sounded too forceful.
Oh, I know that feeling. The mental replay, it's draining.
Totally. And that kind of overthinking or rumination, as Dr. Susan Nolan-Hochstein calls it, is a classic pathway to anxiety.
So it fuels itself.
Exactly. And it feeds into what researchers Hewitt and Flett call the perfectionism anxiety spiral.
Okay, explain that spiral.
So take Lisa, the marketing exec. She prepares meticulously backup plans for backup plans. She thinks this perfectionism protects her.
Right, like armor.
But actually the anxiety it creates makes her second guess everything anyway. So you get this cycle: super high standards, intense fear of failure, being hyper aware of potential mistakes, which leads to more anxiety, and then just deep exhaustion.
Wow, it's a trap.
It is. But here's an interesting twist. Anxiety isn't necessarily the enemy here. Sometimes it's actually a messenger.
A messenger? How?
Like an internal GPS trying to guide you back to yourself. It's signaling that something's out of alignment, that you're maybe straying too far from your authentic needs or values.
Okay, that's a helpful reframe. And does this internal pressure, does it show up physically? You mentioned fatigue, headaches.
Profoundly. The body really does keep score, that chronic stress. It messes with your digestion, disrupts sleep, creates muscle tension, like you're literally carrying the weight of expectations. It can weaken your immune system. Some people even experience panic symptoms, heart racing, shortness of breath, especially in social situations where they feel judged.
And you mentioned earlier, this can be even more intense for some groups.
Yes, absolutely. The anxiety can be compounded for women of color who might feel pressure to engage in shifting, constantly adjusting their behavior to fit different contexts. Or for neurodiverse women who practice masking to try and fit in. These add extra layers of pressure and anxiety.
It makes sense. So where does this all start? I mean, nobody wakes up and decides, I want to live in a state of constant anxiety and people-pleasing.
Right. It's almost never a conscious choice. The roots go deep, often starting way back in childhood in what the source calls the family theater.
The family theater. Okay.
Yeah, think about little Anna, maybe 6 years old. She gets praised for being quiet and compliant at the dinner table. She doesn't consciously think, oh, my worth depends on causing no trouble. But she starts learning that association unconsciously.
So praise for being easy or good can accidentally teach the wrong lesson.
Exactly. Dr. Rachel Simmons points out, families don't usually intend to create people pleasers. But when praise consistently follows self-sacrifice or quietness, well, kids internalize that equation. It sinks in.
And it can be passed down, too, like watching our parents.
Definitely. Intergenerational patterns are huge. Maybe Maria's mom, Carmen, models strength through constant selflessness, never complaining. Maria sees that and thinks, okay, that's what a good woman does. Puts everyone else first. And then there's schools, right? Educational systems often reward compliance, sitting quietly, not challenging things too much.
Sure, raising your hand, waiting your turn.
Right. And Lisa, the successful attorney mentioned earlier, maybe she learned back in elementary school to kind of make herself smaller, to hesitate before speaking up, even if she knew the answer.
And outside of home and school, culture, media.
Oh, big time. We're bombarded with messages that prioritize being likable over being authentic. Think about the cool girl trope. The girl who's effortlessly chill, never demanding. Or the countless portrayals of self-sacrificing mothers or wives. These create templates.
Yeah, unspoken rules about how women should be.
And it even gets wired into our brains. Dr. Daniel Siegel talks about neuroscience here, brain plasticity. If early on, asserting yourself leads to negative reactions and being compliant leads to smiles and praise.
Your brain learns that pathway.
Exactly. Your neural pathways literally start associating assertion with danger or discomfort, and compliance with safety and reward becomes automatic.
Wow. That explains why it feels so fundamental, so hard to change later.
It does. And sometimes trauma plays a role too. These behaviors can be survival strategies developed to minimize risk or maximize connection in difficult environments. Temperament matters. Two highly sensitive kids might be more prone.
And identity adds layers too, right? Race, background.
Absolutely. All those intersecting factors can add different kinds of pressure to conform or please.
So the key takeaway isn't about blaming our parents or our past.
Not at all.
It's about understanding the origins with compassion so we can make conscious choices now about how we want to live.
Precisely. Compassion and conscious choice. That's the path forward.
Okay, so this isn't like a single mold that everyone fits into. How does this good girl actually show up day to day? What are some of the different ways it manifests?
That's a great point. It's definitely not one size fits all. The underlying fear might be similar, but how it looks on the outside can vary a lot.
Okay.
So you recognize the classic people pleaser. The source mentions Jennifer by anxiety.
Are there less obvious types? Ones that are harder to spot?
Yes, definitely. Like the invisible achiever. Think of Maya, a brilliant software engineer. She does amazing work, but constantly downplays it. Oh, it was nothing. Or she prefaces her ideas with apologies.
So she deflects praise.
Completely. And then she watches less qualified colleagues, often men, get promotions because they're more visible.
That's frustrating.
Very. Then there's the emotional caretaker. Like Rachel, who's the unofficial therapist for her whole family. maybe her friend group too. She absorbs everyone else's feelings, smooths everything over.
And loses touch with her own needs in the process.
Totally. She doesn't even know what she feels anymore. And one more, the agreeable accommodator. Priya, maybe she's always saying, oh, I'm easy, whatever you want is fine.
The chameleon.
Yeah, she adapts to fit in anywhere, suppresses her own interests or opinions because she's afraid people won't like the real her.
And maybe a self-sacrificing martyr type too, always putting others first, almost to their own detriment.
Absolutely, driven by guilt, often feeling resentful, but unable to stop. These are just archetypes, of course.
Right, not boxes to put people in.
No, the goal isn't self-diagnosis. It's about recognizing patterns that resonate. Seeing yourself in these descriptions can be the first step towards self-compassion and realizing you can choose differently.
Okay, recognizing the patterns is huge. But let's talk about the impact. It sounds tiring, obviously, but what's the real long-term cost of living this way? Of staying silent, of constantly accommodating?
The costs are. They're profound, and often, like the suffering itself, they're invisible until they become overwhelming.
How so?
Well, first, there's the erosion of self-knowledge. The source mentions Maria again, realizing at 35 she literally doesn't know her favorite color because she spent her life choosing based on what others prefer.
Wow. To lose touch with your own preferences like that.
Exactly. Dr. Harriet Lerner said something like, when we constantly silence our authentic voice to keep relationships, we don't just lose our voice, we lose ourselves.
That's powerful.
It can lead to what the book calls the death of dreams. Like Sarah, who gave up her passion for art because it wasn't practical or didn't fit others' expectations, and now at 40 feels this deep, inexplicable sadness.
That's heartbreaking, losing yourself and your aspirations.
And it impacts relationships, right? They end up being built on performance, not authenticity.
Yeah.
Jennifer the nurse might have a painful realization that the love she felt was conditional on her constant giving. It leads to isolation, resentment, and attracting those takers we mentioned.
And the physical toll. We touched on it, but can it get serious?
Absolutely. Dr. Gabor Mate talks a lot about how the body rebels against chronic self-abandonment. There's a real correlation between these patterns and things like autoimmune disorders, chronic digestive issues, persistent pain, sleep problems, even cardiovascular issues down the line.
So the stress isn't just in your head.
Not at all. And mentally.
Yeah.
Significantly higher risk for anxiety disorders, depression, burnout is huge. Eating disorders can be linked. Sometimes substance abuse is a coping mechanism. Imposter syndrome is almost a given.
What about professionally? Does it hold people back?
Massively. Undervaluing your work, shying away from leadership, working incredibly hard but not getting recognition, being afraid to negotiate salary or promotions. Research from places like Catalyst and McKinsey backs this up. It has a real economic cost.
And creatively.
It's a creativity killer. If you're afraid of judgment, you suppress the unique, maybe unconventional ideas, you stick to the safe path.
So it affects basically every area of life.
Pretty much. There's even an intergenerational impact when we model these patterns for our children. And on a deeper level, a spiritual cost. A disconnect from your core self, your intuition, your sense of purpose. It can leave you feeling just empty.
Okay. Listing those costs it's heavy.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly motivating, isn't it? Seeing what's at stake can be the catalyst for wanting change.
Exactly. Recognizing the cost is often that crucial first step. It fuels the desire to reclaim your life.
So it feels like there's a path forward, even if it's challenging. How do we actually start to break these chains? Where do we begin?
Well, the starting point, and often the scariest part, is finding what the source calls the courage to disappoint.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds hard.
It is, because the whole pattern is built on not disappointing others. Remember Maria, when she started setting boundaries, her colleagues resisted. They were used to her automatic yes.
Right. People get comfortable with the old dynamic.
Exactly. Dr. Brené Brown talks about this. Choosing authenticity means having the courage to be imperfect, set boundaries, be vulnerable. She basically says your willingness to disappoint others is directly linked to your ability to live authentically.
That really hits home. It feels true, even if it's uncomfortable. So it's not about suddenly becoming selfish or mean.
Not at all. It's about shifting where your yes and no come from fear to choice, from obligation to authentic generosity.
Okay. So this journey, does it happen all at once?
Rarely. The source outlines stages of awakening. It usually starts with recognition like, oh wow, that's me. Then often comes anger or grief for the lost time or self. Then experimentation, trying out small changes. Then integration, where it starts feeling more natural. Finally, empowerment.
And we should expect it to feel uncomfortable.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Prepare for the discomfort of growth. Feeling anxious when you set a boundary, normal. Feeling guilty when you say no, normal. Maybe even feeling a bit lonely as some relationships shift, also normal. Pushback from others, expect it. These feelings aren't signs you're failing, they're signs you're stretching.
Okay, that's really important to hear. So, practically speaking, where can someone start? Like today, what are some small steps?
Start really small. Micro practices for change. Like just practice pausing before you answer a request. Instead of an instant yes, try, let me check my calendar and get back to you.
Buys you time.
Exactly. Or notice how often you automatically apologize for things that aren't your fault. Or just for taking up space. Just notice it first.
Awareness first.
Then try expressing a small preference. Like choosing the movie or where to get coffee. Low stakes. Set one tiny boundary, maybe not answering work emails after 7 p.m. And just acknowledge your feelings internally. Okay, I notice I feel irritated right now. Small acts build muscle.
And the big one, saying no.
Ah, yes. The art of saying no. It's fundamental. Key thing. No is a complete sentence. You don't always need a long explanation or excuse.
Easier said than done.
For sure. So start small, low-stakes situations first. Use simple, direct language. Embrace yourself. Sometimes people will push back. Your job isn't to convince them, it's to tolerate your own discomfort with their reaction. Remember, when your no is real, your yes means so much more.
That's a great way to think about it. Are there therapies that help specifically with this?
Yeah, several approaches are really useful. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, helps challenge those distorted good girl thoughts. DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, gives amazing skills for managing emotions, tolerating distress, and being more effective in relationships. Boundary setting is big in DBT. Feminist therapy is great because it looks at the societal pressures too. And somatic approaches help you reconnect with your body's signals, the wisdom stored there.
What about dealing with that harsh inner critic, that voice telling you you're being selfish?
That's where self-compassion practices are gold. Dr. Kristen Neff's work is amazing here. It's about 3 things. Treating yourself with kindness, understanding that struggle is part of being human, common humanity, and being mindful of your feelings without judgment.
Can you give an example?
The self-compassion break is simple. First, acknowledge, ouch, this is painful, or this is hard. Second, remind yourself, struggles like this are part of life, or other people feel this way too. Third, offer yourself kindness. Maybe put a hand on your heart and say, may I be kind to myself?
I like that. Practical.
Very. And then there's assertiveness training. Learning to use I statements, I feel X when Y happens, and I need Z. Using clear language, good body language. And mindfulness helps you stay present, notice your urges to people pleasers without automatically acting on them.
And managing the anxiety that pops up when you try these things.
Yeah, having some quick anxiety management tools is key. Grounding techniques like the 5-4-3-2-1 method, name 5 things you see, 4 you feel, 3 you hear, etc. Breathing exercises like box breathing or just making your exhale longer than your inhale. These calm your nervous system in the moment.
And finally, understanding your emotions better.
Yes, developing emotional intelligence. Practicing naming your feelings specifically, not just bad, but disappointed, resentful, overwhelmed. Understanding what message that emotion might have for you. And finding healthy ways to express them.
Wow, okay.
You might withdraw or even test your new boundaries repeatedly.
That sounds tough.
It can be, but it's also incredibly clarifying. It shows you which relationships are based on mutual respect and which were based on your compliance. It creates space for more authentic connections.
Okay, so what kinds of support should we actively seek out?
A mix is usually best. Professional support. Therapists, coaches, especially those who get gender dynamics and anxiety. Peer support. Friends who get it. Mentors. Maybe an accountability partner who's on a similar path. And if possible, family support. Though that might involve educating them about your journey and setting clear expectations.
Where do you find these people?
Therapy groups focused on boundaries or women's issues are great. Women's organizations, sometimes online communities centered around authenticity or specific challenges. Even hobby groups can be places where you connect with people who appreciate the real you.
And what should we look for? What are the green flags in support of people?
Oh, good question. Look for people who listen more than they fix. People who share their own struggles, who are authentic themselves. Crucially, people who respect your boundaries, even when it's inconvenient for them. People who genuinely celebrate your successes, big or small, and who can just sit with you when things are hard, without trying to rush you out of your feelings. Basically, look for authenticity and respect.
That makes sense. And once you start building the support, how do you keep the momentum going? How do you maintain progress?
It's an ongoing process. Maintaining progress involves regular self-check-ins. How am I doing with boundaries this week? Am I honoring my needs? Celebrating the small wins is huge. Acknowledging every time you paused, said no, or spoke your truth.
Keep reinforcing the new pathways.
Exactly. And consistent self-care isn't a luxury, it's essential maintenance for this journey. It's about consciously nurturing those relationships that feed your authentic self. And sometimes, gracefully letting go of those that drain you or demand the old good girl persona.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. It really covers so much ground on a topic that I think affects so many people, often silently. It feels like the core message is that this journey from good girl to authentic woman, it's not about flipping a switch. It's ongoing. It takes real courage and a lot of self-compassion.
Absolutely.
And integration isn't about becoming harsh or uncaring. It's about reaching a place where you can be generous, but from choice, where you set boundaries, but with care, where expressing your needs feels, well, natural, leading a life that truly feels like yours.
Beautifully put. Remember, this journey isn't just about reclaiming your individual life, as important as that is. It creates ripples.
How so?
When you model genuine self-respect and authenticity, it impacts everyone around you, your family, your friends, your colleagues. You give others permission to be more real too. You potentially change patterns for future generations. It's bigger than just you.
Okay, so a final thought for everyone listening. If breaking free from this good girl syndrome truly means reclaiming your inherent worth value that exists simply because you exist, not because of what you do for others, what's one small, authentic step you can take this week? Just one thing to honor that truth, knowing that small step could be the start of a powerful chain reaction.
Thank you for joining us today on the Calm and Clarity podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share it with someone who would love it too. I'm Desmond, and until next time, keep growing, keep grounding yourself, and keep living with calm and clarity. We'll see you in the next episode.